So let us start the next theory class, which is number 20, about the emetics and antiemetics. And this is very, very important. So in these two, we are going to start with the emetics. So first we have to define what is the meaning of emetics, or you can say the definition of emetics. So emetics are simply the drug which induce the vomission is called emetics. So emetics are the drugs or the chemical or the substance that are used to induce the vomiting is called emetics. So first we have to go through the condition where we have to use these drugs. So these drugs we are going to use to treat the poisoning. So usually when the doctor find that the poison is not fully absorbed and may be existing in gastrointestinal tract, then it is more better to use at that time. And if it get absorbed, then there is the efficacy of emetics is not to use when it get absorbed. So emetics should be used to treat the poisoning cases, but we also have to rule out the poisoning condition in which the poison or toxicant should not be corrosive. And if the animal is unconscious, in that condition also, we don't have to use the emetics. Because if the animal is unconscious and we are using the emetics to treat the poisoning, then the chances of the material from the GI tract to come or pass through the respiratory passage, and there may be the respiratory problem. So we don't have to give to the patient which is unconscious. And the second condition in which the poison or toxicant is corrosive in nature, for that treatment we also don't have to use the emetics. Why? The reason is that, as we know, the corrosive substance, when it comes uh, to move up to the mouth, then this corrosive substance may charred, may burn, may irritate the GI tract up to the mouth. So because of this reason, we are not going to use the emetics to treat the poisoned animal if the poison or toxicant is corrosive in nature. And in which species we are going to use the emetics? For mainly non-ruminant like cat and dog. In these two species, we are going to use the emetics. So this is very, very important. So let us start. Before going to start the classification of the emetics, we have to see the pathway of emesis or the physiology of emesis, means how the emesis is occurring, and accordingly we have to use the drug both as a emetic as well as the antiemetic. So let us start with the physiology of emetics, how the emesis occur. So we have to go through that. So we have to see the pathway of emesis. In this, the first we have to go through that where this emetic center is present or vomiting center is present. So vomiting center is present in central nervous system, that is the medulla. So in the medulla, emetic center is present. So when there is a stimulation of this emetic center or vomiting center occur that present in the medulla, then it will lead to the vomission as a reflux action, because vomission is actually the normal physiological phenomena and is act as a defense to remove the things from the GI tract that is not beneficial for the animals. So that is why the emesis occur. Now we have to go through the different pathway which finally going to stimulate the emetic center or vomiting center, and therefore vomission occurs. So now we have to go through the different pathway which finally induce or stimulate the emetic center. Usually these pathway of emesis is present both peripherally or centrally. So in central nervous system as well as the peripheral nervous system. So now we have to go through the different pathway of emesis. If anything is in the pharynx, it may be irritant, or if you are going to put the finger inside the pharynx to induce the vomission, then this is going to induce the vomission through pharynx. So how this will occur? When we are stimulating the pharynx, it may be through the irritant also, or it may be the uh, we are inducing the vomission, then the pharynx is going to send the sensory information up to the vomiting center, emetic center, to vomit. How? When we induce the pharynx, this pharynx is going to induce the solitary tract nucleus. This solitary tract nucleus is also called nucleus tract solitary. So, pharynx through the efferent neuron or through the sensory neuron, and there the neurons present in the pharynx or face muscles are glossopharyngeal and trigeminal efferent neuron. So it communicate this to the solitary tract nucleus STN and stimulate the receptor present there, and as a consequences, because of the stimulation of the solitary tract nucleus by different receptor present here, it stimulates the emetic center to vomit. This is through the pharynx, through the efferent neuron or sensory neuron, that is the glossopharyngeal and trigeminal. So they are going to induce finally the receptor present on the solitary tract nucleus. This solitary tract nucleus is present in the central nervous system. Emetic center is also present in the central nervous system. Usually, there are five neurotransmitters are participating in the vomission by stimulating their respective receptor present either on solitary tract nucleus, either on the area postrema, that is the chemoreceptor trigger zone, or it may be through the ear or other pathway. This solitary tract nucleus that present in central nervous system is possessing five receptor for induction of the vomission, and these receptors are usually induced by five type of neurotransmitter, like for 5-HT3 the neurotransmitter is 5-HT. For D2 receptor the neurotransmitter is dopamine. For muscarinic receptor, the neurotransmitter is acetylcholine. For histamine 1 receptor, the neurotransmitter is histamine. For neurokinin 1 receptor, the neurotransmitter is substance P. And the last one is cannabinoid 1 receptor. So these all five receptor like 5-HT3, D2, muscarinic, histamine, and neurokinin 1, when these all receptor get stimulated, as a consequence, as a result, it stimulates the vomiting center to vomit by its reflex action. Therefore, if we have to use or block this receptor to inhibit the action of their respective neurotransmitter, will act as a antiemetic agent. However, these all receptor like 5-HT3, D2, muscarinic, histamine, and neurokinin 1. For these all, we are using the antagonist to inhibit the vomission because the vomission occur because of the stimulation of these receptors by their respective neurotransmitter. Whereas if the cannabinoid receptor 1 CB1, that is the cannabinoid receptor, when it get stimulated, it will rather check the vomission, or it will not resulted in vomission through the emetic center. So therefore, all the five receptor antagonists we are using, whereas for the cannabinoid receptor, we are using the cannabinoid receptor agonist as a antiemetic agent. So this is very, very interesting and important. Now we have go through the other pathway. If anything that present in the GI tract and that act like a local irritant, they stimulate the enterochromaffin like cell to release the neurotransmitter or autocoid 5-HT3 5-HT, and when the 5-HT get released from the GI tract enterochromaffin like cell with the help of like irritant, that we call it local irritant, or it may be because of cytotoxic drug, it may be because of the copper sulfate, it may be because of the radiation therapy in cancer, it may be because if there is infection is present in the GI tract. So these all are going to stimulate the interchromaffin like cell to release the autocoid 5-HT, and this 5-HT as a resulted stimulate the respective receptor, that is the 5-HT3 present on the same GI tract like at a stomach and a small intestine, and therefore as a consequence it move through two major pathway by taking health of sensory neuron or efferent neuron, that is the vagal efferent neuron or sympathetic efferent neuron. They finally stimulate the solitary tract nucleus or chemoreceptor trigger zone present in area postrema, that is also in the CNS. And because through this pathway, I mean 5-HT3 pathway, they stimulate either CTZ, chemoreceptor trigger zone, or through solitary tract nucleus by stimulating the 5-HT3 receptor present at both the places, and as a result it finally stimulates the vomiting center, emetic center to vomit by its reflex action. So if any drug which block this irritation or inhibit these condition, then this may be used as a antiemetic. Or you can say if you block the receptor 5-HT3 receptor, it will also use as a antiemetic. Now we have to go through the other pathway. If the anything any chemical, any substance that are going to induce the vomission and that is present in the blood, we call it the blood-borne emetic, because these are the substance chemical present in the blood, and therefore it leads to emesis. That is why they are called blood-borne emetics. And these may be cytotoxic drug, maybe opioid, maybe cholinomimetics, maybe cardiac glycosides, maybe L-dopa, maybe bromocriptone, maybe apomorphine, maybe emetine. So these all blood-borne emetics either stimulate directly the CTZ, that is the chemoreceptor trigger zone. Why they are going to directly stimulate this chemoreceptor trigger zone present in CNS? Because this chemoreceptor trigger zone don't possess the BBB, blood-brain barrier. So therefore it gets stimulated. As a resultant, it stimulates the emetic center or vomiting center, and by its reflex action, the patient or the individual or the animal is going to vomit as a normal physiological phenomena, as a defense mechanism. And through the same blood-borne emetics also go through the same pathway, that is going to stimulate the enterochromaffin like cell to release the 5-HT or serotonin. Therefore, it stimulates the receptor present in the GI tract, and therefore through the vagal and sympathetic efferent neuron or sensory neuron, it stimulates the chemoreceptor trigger zone, or it stimulates the solitary tract nucleus. As a sequence or consequence, they finally stimulate the emetic center, and by its reflex action they are going to vomit. So these are the pathway. So if you are going to block these pathway, so those drugs which block this pathway are to be used as antiemetics, or those drugs which stimulate these pathway we have to use as a emetics. Next is the inner ear. If we are traveling or we are in motion, or if there is some toxicant which affect the inner ear, that is the vestibular nuclei. So when there is a stimulation of vestibular nuclei present in the inner ear because of the motion, because of the toxicant, it stimulate, and therefore it communicate to the cerebellum through the two receptor, either histamine 1 receptor, either muscarinic receptor, and their respective neurotransmitter act on the cerebellum, and therefore it resulted in stimulation of emetic center present in the medulla, and by its reflex action therefore it is going to lead to the vomission. So if any person which is in motion, I mean in journey, in train, in bus, in vehicle, in any type of motion, there may be chances, if the inner ear is not the balance, vestibular is not the balance, it will lead to the vomission through this pathway, and we call it the motion sickness. So motion sickness resulted in the vomission through a stimulation of cerebellum and finally emetic center, and reflexly stimulate the pathway to vomit. Now there are two more important pathway. We call it the higher center stimulation. So this higher center stimulation is present in or again central nervous system, particularly the cerebral cortex. So cerebral cortex may get stimulated, or you can say the higher center may get stimulated through the sensory input, that is because of the pain. If the patient is in intense pain, if the smell is very pungent, not very bad, but that is very bad, and if there is not violence, then these all are going to stimulate the higher center to vomit through the same pathway, that is the stimulation of emetic center reflexly stimulate the vomission. So these are the sensory input of the pain or the very bad smell, or if there is not the balancing, the animals or patient is not balancing, they all are going to stimulate the higher center to vomit. And also, if you are get feared, if you are anticipating for the vomission, if you are losing the memory, or if you get fear, these all condition or anticipation of the anticip anticipation, these all are going to stimulate the cerebral cortex higher center, and as a consequence is stimulating the vomiting or emetic center, and by its reflex action going to vomit. And therefore, when we are going to stimulate this pathway, then it will produce emesis. So we have to use the emetics. And if we are going to block these action of the five neurotransmitter, like 5-HT3, dopamine, muscarinic, histamine, and neurokinin, then they are going to use as a antiemetic. And if you are going to use agonist of cannabinoid 1 receptor, then again they are also used as a antiemetic drug. So this is about the physiology of emetics. Now we have to go through the drug, that is the emetics. First we have to go through the emetics. So first we have to go through the classification of emetics. So there are three types of emetics, that when it acts centrally, so called centrally acting emetics, when it is acting peripherally or reflexly or locally, we are calling the reflex or peripheral or locally acting emetics. And the third one is the mixed action, means poses both central as well as the peripheral action. Therefore, we are going to call it the mixed emetics. Under these, the example for the centrally acting emetics are apomorphine and xylazine. This apomorphine is a morphine derivative and is a dopamine agonist. So, as we have seen, this dopamine receptor is present at two places. That the first is at the STN, solitary tract nucleus, and the second one is another one is at the CTZ, area postrema. So when it get stimulated, this is going to stimulate the vomiting center to give rise to vomission. So the drug apomorphine is producing CNS excitation in cat. So in cat, apomorphine is not used. So for the cat, we are using the another drug from the same centrally acting emetics is xylazine. So for the apomorphine, for the therapy of for use as a emetics for a species dog, the for apomorphine, the dose is 3 to 5 mg per kg orally, and for IV 0.02 mg per kg body weight. And regarding the xylazine is concerned, that we already discussed, that xylazine is specifically or primarily used for the emetics in cat, for the cat, and the dose is zero point 0.3 to 0.5 mg per kg, either intravenous or intramuscular, and its mechanism of action is stimulating the adrenergic receptor, particularly alpha 2 adrenergic receptor, and as a agonist, and therefore this is going to produce the emesis. So these two drugs used under the centrally acting emetics. Now we have to go through the peripherally acting or locally acting or reflexly acting. Under these, the drugs uh, are salt, maybe the sodium chloride, sodium carbonate, copper sulfate, hydrogen peroxide, zinc acetate, and zinc sulfate. So these we are going to use as a emetics under the locally acting emetics, and as a reflex action, this is going to give rise the vomission. The mechanism of action of this drug under this category is concerned, these are going to irritate the pharynx, and by its irritation action on the pharynx, or its action on the pharynx, this will going to stimulate the STN through the two nerve, that is the glossopharyngeal and trigeminal efferent neuron, and therefore it stimulate the NTS, and finally stimulate the vomiting center to vomit through reflux stimulation, that is called peripheral emetics or locally acting emetics. Under these the drug that I have already mentioned. Now we have to go through the mixed action. Under the mixed action emetics, the drug is ipecacuanha. So ipecacuanha or syrup of ipecacuanha, or you can say ipecac, possessing an alkaloid, and the name of the alkaloid is imetine. So imetine is an alkaloid present in ipecacuanha or ipecac, and they act both centrally or peripherally. How this is going to act peripherally? Because of imetine irritant action, it irritates the GI tract, and by its reflux action through efferent neuron, either trigeminal and glossopharyngeal, or it may be through the vagus neuron, it leads to the stimulation of vomiting center to produce the vomission. Or centrally, imetine is acting on the CTJ chemoreceptor trigger zone stimulation, and therefore this is going to give rise to the vomission. So this is about the mixed axonymatics, that is the syrup of ipecacuanha. And for the dose, the dog is 2.5 to 5 ml per kg body weight orally. This is about the mixed action. So we already finished the emetics. So and where we are use, that is for the poisoned animal we have to use. Now we have to go through the antiemetics. So regarding antiemetics is concerned, these antiemetics are the drug. We have to first define about the drug. So antiemetics are the drug or the chemical or the substance used to treat the vomission of different condition. So we have to go through the classification of the drug that are used as a antiemetics. Here we are going to mention few more points about 70 to 80% of treatment with the chemotherapeutic agent or with the drug, it may leads to the vomission or nausea. Also, the condition like motion sickness that we already discussed, when we are traveling, we are in motion, this may induce the vomission, and this is called motion sickness. So in that case we have to use the antiemetic. In case of pregnancy, particularly the first trimester of the pregnancy, it also induce the vomission, so we are going to use the antiemetics. Also the diseases like hepatitis, also the condition like post operative condition, there they may produce the vomission. The condition when we are going to use the anesthetics, so an anesthetic after its use it may induce the vomission. Radiation therapy also induce the vomission. So there are different types of the mechanism which induce the vomission that we already discussed. Now we have to go through particularly the drug that we are going to use for to treat the cancer, they induce the vomission. So this is very interesting thing about how the vomission is occurring. So we already discussed about the mechanism of vomission is concerned. We already discussed that how the vomission is occurring because of the stimulation of the receptor present centrally, that is at the chemoreceptor trigger zone that located in area postrema, and this receptor is present outside the blood brain barrier, and this is directly responded by the chemical stimulation present in the blood or cerebrospinal fluid. Another site which stimulate the vomison is STN. So STN have the receptor that we already discussed, STN or NTS, that is also embedded in the medulla oblongata, and because of the five neurotransmitter, they stimulate their respective receptor to give rise the vomison that we already discussed, and that will may move through the efferent neuron. Now we have to go through the how what are the site that peripherally stimulate the vomison that we already seen in the pharynx or in the gastrointestinal tract. So in the gastrointestinal tract, if there is the irritation, then this will produce the vomison, produce the release of autoquiet or neurotransmitter 5-HT, and therefore 5-HT is going to act on the respective receptor, that is 5-HT3, that present in the GI tract, and therefore by its reflux action it carry on either up to the STN or to the CTZ, and therefore finally give rise to the stimulation of vomiting center present in the medulla and produces the vomison. So this is all about the mechanism of vomison, and we also discuss about the pathway of vomison. Now we have to go through the classification of antiemetic drug, which is about that we already discussed five neurotransmitter that participating in the vomison, and ginger is very known herbal antiemetic agent. So this is very important. Now we have to go through the classification of antiemetic. If you go through the classification of antiemetic, you have to recall the neurotransmitter, that five neurotransmitter, as well as their respective receptor. So when we are going to classify this antiemetic, we are only blocking the attachment of their neurotransmitter with their respective receptor. So when the neurotransmitter is not going to attach with their respective receptor, that one is occupied by the blocker, then we have to use as a antiemetic agent for every receptor blocking agent except the cannabinoid receptor, that is the CB1 receptor. So accordingly we have to go through that one. In this here I am going to mention one very important thing is that the histamine receptor blocker as well as the muscarinic receptor blocker, these two receptor blocker, I mean the histamine receptor blocker or antagonist or muscarinic receptor blocker or antagonist or anticholinergic, these two are specifically used for the therapy of vomison induced by motion sickness. Also post-operative, all post-operative, and muscarinic is also muscarinic is used to treat the or use as a pre-anesthetic and post-operative nausea in addition to the motion sickness. So histamine receptor blocker, that is the H1 receptor blocker or muscarinic receptor blocker, these two are specifically the drug for the motion sickness. However, other drug that we are going to discuss that are to be used mainly to treat the emesis or vomison caused by chemotherapeutic agent. Also, no doubt radiation therapy emesis also there, but mainly because of emesis because of the chemotherapeutic agent, use of chemotherapeutic agent. Now we have to go through the classification. So 5-HT3 receptor antagonist. When we have to go through how these 5-HT3 receptor antagonist is acting, the name is clear cut indicating these antagonist is going to inhibit the action of neurotransmitter 5-HT, and therefore 5-HT is not going to act on the 5-HT3 receptor present on two places, that is the CTZ as well as the NTS, and therefore because the position is occupied by the antagonist, Therefore, it will inhibit the induction of vomison and check the vomison. This is the mechanism of action. Under this, all the drug have the suffix cetron, and under this the drug are ondansetron, then granisetron, then dolasetron, tropisetron, pelenossetron. So these setron are the 5-HT receptor antagonists, and the mechanism of action, it inhibits the action of 5-HT to act on the 5-HT3 receptor to induce the vomison, and the receptor is occupied by the antagonist. So there is no place for the 5-HT to act on the respective receptor to produce the vomison. So that we already discussed, these drugs are used for the chemotherapy induced nausea, also used for the emesis produced by the pregnancy, particularly in first trimester. In addition to that, we have to use also as antiemetic for radiation therapy, because radiation therapy is going to produce the emesis, also post surgery. So this is about the use. The side effect under this group is concerned, headache and GI upset is going to produce. Now we have to go through the CTZ receptor, particularly dopamine receptor antagonist, D2 receptor antagonist. How the drug is going to produce the therapeutic effect as antiemetic agent? This dopamine neurotransmitter is going to act on the dopamine 2 receptor present on the STN, CTZ, present on the CTZ, and therefore, so you have to see the where this receptor is present. So this sit on the CTZ, this dopamine receptor is present, and STN, this dopamine is receptor is present. So this receptor get induced by their respective neurotransmitter dopamine. So this receptor get occupied by the dopamine receptor antagonist and inhibit the action of dopamine to induce the vomison, and therefore use as a anti-vomiting agent or antiemetic. So under these the drug are domperidone and metoclopramide. These two are the very important dopamine D2 receptor antagonists, and these two are also used as a prokinetic drug also. Other than that, phenothiazine group drug like promethazine and prochlorperazine and thiethylperazine and chlorpromazine, these all are phenothiazine, are also going to use as a D2 receptor antagonist. And this, as I mentioned, is used for chemotherapy induced vomison and also used for the radiation patient induced vomison. And the side effect with this drug are sedation, hypotension, extrapyramidal side effect. Extrapyramidal side effect is particularly associated with the use of metoclopramide, because metoclopramide cross the blood-brain barrier and produce the symptom of toxicity or side effect like extrapyramidal effect. Third one is the H1 receptor antagonist. That H1 receptor antagonist, the mechanism of action of this drug are going to inhibit the action of histamine to act on the histamine receptor present on the mainly the solitary tract nucleus. Also, it may inhibit the H1 receptor present on the cerebellum. This H1 receptor not present on the CTZ region. So this H1 receptor antagonist, how they are going to act? This receptor is going to be occupied by the H1 receptor antagonist. Therefore, histamine is not going to have the place to occupy to induce the vomison. Therefore, it is used as a antiemetic, and particularly for motion sickness, also post-operative emesis, also morning sickness. These drugs are to be used as antiemetic. Under this, the drug are cyclizine, then hydroxyzine, and also the phenothiazine drug like promethazine and diphenhydramine also going to be used as a H1 receptor antagonist. In this, cyclizine is or hydroxyzine is very important, as well as the promethazine is also very important. The drug name uh, with the trade name Phenargan is possessing the promethazine, having the promethazine compound. This drug I already mentioned is used for the therapy of motion sickness, that the side effect is drowsiness and sedation. Now we have to go through the muscarinic receptor antagonist or anticholinergic. So muscarinic receptor antagonist, how they are going to produce the action? As you know, the acetylcholine neurotransmitter is going to stimulate the muscarinic receptor present on the cerebellum, or it may be present on the CTZ, or it may be present on the solitary tract nucleus, and therefore induce the vomiting center or emetic center to vomit. So if the drug is going to block this pathway by occupying the receptor, muscarinic receptor present on these three places, cerebellum, CTZ, and solitary tract nucleus, will block the vomission, and therefore to be used as a antiemetic agent. And these drug, the main drug, are that we already the main two drugs are there, that is the scopolamine and atropine. Scopolamine is also known as hyoscyaine. So hyoscyaine or scopolamine and the atropine is a muscarinic receptor blocker or an anticholinergic agent. This atropine is also used as a pre-anesthetic because they are going to check the emesis induced by the anesthesia, and therefore this drug is used for the emesis induced by motion sickness, induced by the operation, so post-operative nausea, and side effect associated with muscarinic receptor is dry mouth, blurred vision, and drowsiness. Now we have to go through the cannabinoid receptor agonist that we already earlier mentioned for all the receptor, like the histamine receptor 1, like the neurokinin receptor for the substance P, NK1, like muscarinic receptor for the acetylcholine, like the dopamine receptor for D2 receptor for 5-HT3, that is the 5-HT, we have to use their antagonist. But for the cannabinoid receptor CB1, we have to use the agonist. And this the drug is Nebilone and Dronabinol. So Dronabinol and Nebilone are CB1 receptor agonist and going to inhibit the vomission. So this is the only one drug that is agonist, and other all are antagonist. This is used in case of vomission induced by the chemotherapy or cytotoxic drug. Now the next or the last one is the neurokinin 1 receptor for the substance P, that is also antagonist. So the drug that are going to be occupy this neurokinin 1 receptor, therefore substance B is unable to attach with the respective receptor, that is the NK1 present on the solitary tract nucleus, and this inhibition or the position is occupied by the antagonist. Therefore substance B will not induce the vomission by inducing through this receptor. So used as a antiemetic drug. So now we have to go through the drug one by one that we already classified. So we are going to go through the silent feature. Under the 5-HT3 receptor antagonist, in this ondansetron is the first drug. So that is why we are calling it prototype of the drug under the 5-HT3 receptor antagonist. They are actively metabolized in the liver and excrete out through the urine. The active metabolite of dolasetron is hydroxydolasetron, and this is active metabolite, not inactive metabolite. Then advantage of these drug are it is long duration of action. Regarding the mechanism that we already discussed, though there is no use of to discuss again. Other thing about the use we already discussed, and this is the most widely used antiemetic for chemotherapy induced vomission, and this is the drug we are also going to use for emesis as antiemetic for in case of pregnancy, and ondansetron and granisetron is also be under the trial to use vomicin as an antiemetic agent induced by chemical, particularly the anti-cancerous drug cisplatin. So cisplatin induced vomicin is inhibited by the ondansetron and granisetron, that is at particularly higher dose. Regarding the side effect, that we already discussed. Regarding therapy, we already discussed. Then we have to go through the CT or dopamine receptor antagonist, that is D2 receptor antagonist. That is about the drug, we already gone through the drug. About the mechanism of action, we already gone through the mechanism of action. Here we are going to mention more about the metoclopramide. This metoclopramide, that is the dopamine receptor blocker, is highly effective at high doses. When we are going to use metoclopramide high doses, this will be very much useful drug in chemotherapy induced vomission, particularly the vomission caused by anti-cancerous drug cisplatin. So this is very, very important, which is seen in about 30 to 40% of the patient that inhibit the vomission caused by anti-cancerous drug cisplatin. So metoclopramide we have to use at higher dose to inhibit the vomission produced by cisplatin. Regarding the adverse effect is concerned, we already discussed the adverse effect of metoclopramide because it pass out or cross the blood-brain barrier to produce the symptom like sedation, diarrhea, extrapyramidal. So extrapyramidal is particularly concerned with the metoclopramide toxicity associated with when the drug pass out the blood-brain barrier to produce the symptom like extrapyramidal symptom. Antihistaminic, in this we are not going to mention much more. We already discussed about the antihistaminic and the muscarinic. These two are the group that we are going to use particularly for the motion sickness. And regarding mechanism, we already discussed. Regarding side effect, we already discussed. Again, we are not going to discuss. Muscarinic, we also discussed. We already discussed. But this muscarinic receptor antagonist we should not be used for the therapy of the emesis caused by chemotherapeutic drug, and the side effect, about the side effect we already discussed. This is about the fourth. Fifth one we also discuss about the cannabinoid receptor agonist. So cannabinoid receptor agonist, the drug is nebilone and dronabinol, and this dronabinol is chemically delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol, and it is the natural cannabinoid, and its active metabolite is a 11 hydroxy delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol, and this is active metabolite. And very interesting, it is the plant isolated from plant. We call scientific name of the plant cannabis sativa, that we also call marijuana plant. And this because of its side effect, particularly the adverse effect like dependency, hallucination, abuse problem, the drug is not to be used. But when the condition of the vomission, particularly associated with the cisplatin induced vomission, in this case we have to use the dronabinol, and as a prophylactic measure, prophylactic measure in cancer therapy by the cisplatin. Now we have to go through the adverse effect that we already discussed. Now we have to go through the neurokinin receptor blocker. In this, that two drug that we already discussed, the two drug, the aprepitant, and the another one is the Sijaplitant. So the aprepitant and sorry, Casopitant and aprepitant are substance P antagonists, that is the neurokinin 1 receptor antagonist, and that is also used for the therapy of vomission induced by the chemotherapy. And the drug is, that we already told, the drug is aprepitant, and this neurokinin receptor antagonist or substance P antagonist is used for chemotherapy-induced vomission, particularly anti-cancerous drug cisplatin. So this is very, very important drug. And here I'm going to mention few more point about the drug that is not particularly used for the therapy of the vomission, but they are quite helpful, or you can say they are act as a adjunct, and therefore we are going to use these group along with the main anti-emetic drug. These group are glucocorticoid as well as the benzodiazepines like lorazepam or alprazolam. So these two are going to act to help as to use along with the main drug, because the dexamethasone is going to inhibit the inflammation. So we already seen the inflammation in the GI tract induce the vomission. Therefore, it will helps to uh, inhibit the vomission to some extent, and therefore we are going to use as a adjunct, that is not the main drug for the antiemetic, and this is going to be used along with the other main drug and reduce the toxicity of the main drug as well as the dose of the main drug. Whereas lorazepam alprazolam is concerned, this is also very much effective, not very much effective antiemetic drug, but we have to use it also because of its sedative activity, because of its anti-anxiety effect. They are helping to combat in the emesis, because there is no tension. Then the tension is also going to induce the vomission that we already discussed. But here I am going to mention the very much interesting thing is that when we are going to use the drug in combination therapy, then this become very much effective. And main view of combination therapy of the drug is to reduce the toxicity, as well as it will reduce the dose of the main drug, and therefore automatically it reduce the toxicity. So corticosteroid like dexamethasone is going to be used with the other drug like the metoclopramide, like 5-HT antagonist, phenothiazine, butyrophenone, or cannabinoid, or benzodiazepine. So these any one of the drug at higher dose to be used along with the dexamethasone as a anti-emetic drug, particularly metoclopramide, 5-HT3 receptor antagonist, phenothiazines, then butyrophenone and cannabinoid. These all are going to be used with the dexamethasone or with the benzodiazepines. So combination therapy is the very much used. We are going to use the main drug at high dose, and therefore this is going to reduce the toxicity and the dose of the main drug. So this is all about the number 20 class. In next class we are going to discuss next thing.